Welcome in, everybody, to the Full-Time Fantasy Podcast. Your host, Billy Muzio, and I'm with Scott Atkins today. We're about to get started with Red versus Blue. Stick around, folks. The draft's going to start here shortly.
Tonight is the return of Red vs. Blue Radio with your host and fearless leader, Scott Atkins, at Scott Fantasy on Twitter. Red vs. Blue is a proud partner of the new Full-Time Podcast Network, now sponsored by Sports Illustrated. Guests can be part of the live chat we call The Crew, and also join the show by calling 646-668-8147. Red vs. Blue, where sports, fantasy, and life collides. Politically correct? No chance. Fair and balanced? Absolutely. Get ready. Red vs. Blue is back in 3, 2, 1.
We're back. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Red vs. Blue Friday Night Football, wherever you may be. Thanks for making us part of your night. I'm Scott Atkins, team legacy in the world of high-stakes fantasy football, and brought to you for the second straight time as a joint venture with Grind Time, Billy Muzio. Billy, second Red vs. Blue draft in a couple of weeks, and no surprises at the top once again. Jonathan Taylor's the number one pick.
Yeah, JT has been pretty much the consensus 101 in most of these drafts, very rarely falling outside the 101. If it does happen, the only two names that I have really seen in that place have been Christian McCaffrey or Justin Jefferson. I was looking and pulling up the ADP here for the Player Profiler Championship that can be utilized with a full-time fantasy subscription, and Cooper Kupp has not even gone at the 101 yet. He's gone at the 102, but only Justin Jefferson and CMC.
Yeah, the only running back to that I've heard people try to make a case for is Christian McCaffrey, who, shocker, no surprise, he goes with the number 2 pick here. But I guess the thought there was that Christian McCaffrey's best season was 100 points higher than Jonathan Taylor's last season last year. And they're thinking, hey, if anybody can have a big special season to beat Jonathan Taylor, would be McCaffrey. Just kind of flies in the face of what I think we kind of expect out of McCaffrey, because one, the injuries that we've seen over the last couple of years seems like all on the same side of the body. That's kind of scary. And then number 2, he's got capable backups now that everybody knows both. And I know you have a strong opinion on that too, that these capable backups can also help shoulder the load and carry the burden for him. So he finishes the season this year.
Yeah, it's, to me, I love Christian McCaffrey if he's healthy. I think if we were to find out today, if they said, hey, Scott, Christian McCaffrey is going to play 16 games, I think he's the unquestioned 101. I really do. But with those injury concerns that they've amounted over the past couple years, that is now in the back of our head as fantasy owners, especially being burned twice, 2 years in a row with an early pick on Christian McCaffrey. Fantasy managers are not going back to the same well. They're choosing to take Taylor, or they're passing that up for Justin Jefferson. So I understand the concerns that people have, but at the same side, this offense, the upside he has, the PPR, you look at his receptions, and he played, what is it? I don't remember how many games was off the top of my head, but he had more receptions than Jonathan Taylor, or on pace for, I should say. But McCaffrey is by far a better PPR back than Jonathan Taylor, and is used in that fashion, which is where that upside is, but the injuries are a concern.
Yeah, there's actually several backs that, Taylor had 40 receptions. Najee Harris had over 70. Austin Eckler had 70. Leonard Fournette right there, up there at 69. And, McCaffrey's capable of triple digits in that category. I just think that at the end of the day, bulk does not mean, solidity or strength at the durability, I guess is what I'm looking for. Durability in the NFL. And it's just maybe that weight is not for that frame. So, I don't know. There's a lot of speculation there. But look, he's a 1, number 2, number 3, somewhere in that range. You got to take McCaffrey. You got to fire away, unless you just say, you know what, I don't want to go again. I know the feeling of being burned from year to year. So that is a real feeling. We're going to get to the rest of this first round. We have a lot to talk about. I want to break in with the introductions to the draft participants in this draft, some of the best minds in the world of high-stakes fantasy football. You can find us at PlayFFWC.com, part of Full-Time Fantasy. Starting off with the one hole, the GOAT, Marcos D. Number 2, Square Hammer, Ashraf Ibrahim. He'll be joining us later in the program. Number 3, FSP2U, Victor Gardner. Number 4, Killing You Softly, Evangelo Lilas, high-stakes veteran. Number 5, Pass the Mic, Mr. White. Clint Sloan will be joining us tonight. Number 6, witty sports guy, Michael Milich. Number 7, the mad scientist, Scott Hall, has had a couple of really special seasons in the online champ. It's tough to finish strong on all of these contests at the high-stakes level. Number 8, Pirate Monkeys, Sean Medlin and Terry Tardugno. Runner-up in number 3 last year. Number 9, Skull Crusher, Greg Koch. He's the defending 2021 champ. He'll join us. Number 10, Mogul Madness, Hardy Mogul. Number 11, Long and Straight, Russell Cruz. And number 12, the rookie in the red versus blue draft, Jack Colsheen. Colsheen from the 12 hole takes one of your guys. So let's go back to the top of this draft. FSPU at the 3 hole. We covered Taylor and McCaffrey at 1 and 2. Eckler at 3. This is another guy that I know you were high on last year. And are you as high on him this year after what the performance that he put up? 1,200 yards? Actually 1,500 yards combined last year with 12 touchdowns and 8 receiving touchdowns last year.
I still love Eckler. I'm not as high on him this year as I was last year, simply just because of the cost now baked in. And don't get me wrong, I love him. I think he's going to have another phenomenal season, but I'm always looking for discounts, right? And it's just the discount's just not there this year. He's going as the 103, 104, 105. Sometimes he slips down later. I think the latest we have seen him go inside these drafts is the 10 hole. I was in that draft when that happened, but they're all day 100%. But when I'm in the 3 hole in three start wide receiver, I'm typically going Justin Jefferson or even Cooper Kupp or whoever I feel I want to build around. Don't get me wrong, I'll take Eckler there. I'm high on him, but I'm just not really that comfortable taking him at 3 this year as much as I have been in the past.
I think I'm perfectly fine with it. Sometimes you just have to pay the price. You can go Justin Jefferson. You can go receiver there. If you're going to take a running back, I think he's the running back for me. I want to shout out to the crew in the chat room. Some of the best minds in the world of high-stakes fantasy football are in the crew, in the chat every Friday night. James Maloney, AHA80, Jose Pena, David Sadowski, Stats Guru, thank you for being here. I know you can do a lot of things on a Friday night other than watch a draft, but this is this is an investment for a lot of people. Billy, how many drafts? Tell everybody, FF Muzio on Twitter, how many drafts have you done so far this year?
Are we talking best ball as well, or were we just talking?
Best ball, everything, yeah.
Oh man, if you're counting best ball, I'm probably over 200 already. If we're not counting best ball and we're just talking about redraft leagues, I'm probably more in that 20 range.
Yeah, luckily you're not drafted tonight. You can sit back and relax. You've been on the golf course all day. You got you a nice little tan. I see there. Nice little burn. It looks like a little burn.
Nice little burn. It was 91 degrees here. It was getting hot. I mean, I was pretty hammered yesterday, so I took it a little easy. I only had 2 beers today. I was out there from 6:30 in the morning until about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It was a tournament, so didn't play the best today. My partner though was on fire. He was actually even through 8 holes, and he blew up hole 9, but I was able to salvage that one. But so overall, we won 2 of the 3 matches today. So we're coming back tomorrow for 2 more matches.
Very cool. Nice charity tournament. What's the charity?
It's just a golf charity. It's up at it's just an in band. I don't know who it benefits actually. I'm not sure.
You're there for the beer and the golf and the sun, and it goes to a good cause. That's all you care about.
Yeah, exactly. Let's look at the board. Any surprises here? We're constantly seeing now Swift, who was constantly in round 2 in early drafts. We saw him go as late as like 210 in some of these early drafts, and he's consistently now landing in round 1. What's your thoughts on DeAndre Swift this year? Are you comfortable with him in round 1, or are you priced out at that cost?
I know it scares me a little bit, right? I mean, we saw how he finished, and it looks like he has top 5 upside, especially with an improving offense. You're looking for somebody that catches the ball, right? Anybody he had 62 catches last year. That's something that is always intriguing, and the durability scares me. Is he a 200 carry guy is the question. I think he is. But again, 60 catches and he missed like what, four games last year. So that number can be up there towards the 80 number. And the rule of thumb in fantasy was always, if you could catch 50 balls and be a starting running back, okay, that gets the first and second down type carries, you're a top 10 running back. Period. End of story. Doesn't matter what else the results are in PPR leagues. 50 catches as a starting run. You're a top 10 running back. That holds true for the most part. And so when you talk about Swift with the carries, with an improving offense, and those receptions, top 5 seems like it's in reach. And so at the end of that first round, when you want to make sure and secure a running back, knowing that you're going to get one of those wide receivers back in the second round, like Lamb or Adams. He knew that Lamb, Adams, or Diggs is coming back. He knows that one of those 3 doesn't really care, but he gets Swift. And if he doesn't want Aaron Jones there, if he doesn't want Joe Mixon, which you've got a lot of strong reasons about that one that I want to talk about tonight, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you look on a points per game basis last year, and we're not talking total season, but points per game. Swift has 16.1 fantasy points per game. He finished as running back 8 in fantasy points per game, and it's the dual threat, ability is what it is. And she's proven now that even in a bad offense, we expect this offense to be better this year. We expect the line to be better this year. We expect this team to take a step forward this year. But even if it doesn't, he has already proven to me that he is going to be successful in that 3-down back role, the pass catching role, the 1-2 down role. Again. Can his body handle the touches, right? He's not large, 5'8", 212 pounds. He played 13 games in 2020, played 13 games in 2021. So workload is definitely going to be a factor here. I think we're going to need to see a lot more receptions. He's not a 200 carry guy, right? He's a 160, 180 carry guy, probably maybe low 200s if his body is holding up, but I don't think they're going to give him the rock that many times because they don't want to see him break down.
And strength of schedule, we talk about it a lot. It's not a be-all, end-all, but it is a nice tiebreaker. You look at his playoff weeks, he's playing Carolina, the Jets, and Chicago in the playoff weeks. And if you look at it as a season, weeks 1 through 17, it's the 5th easiest schedule in the league for running backs. So, again, that's all fluid. That can change, of course, as defenses improve and things of that nature. And then when you look at the depth chart, let's take a look at Jamal Williams, Craig Reynolds, Jamar Jefferson, and Odwin, whatever. So that
Igwabuki.
There you go. That's close enough. That's a depth chart that I can handle and get behind. Plus, it's a cheap handcuff. I mean, Jamal Williams is not going to cost you an arm and a leg to back up and handcuff. Nobody's going to be going after him. So you have a cheap handcuff in the event that he goes down, and somebody that can at least hold the fort down while he comes back. So is he expected to miss games? Maybe, maybe not. But I like that pick. Wide receiver is something that is coveted in the FFWC. Again, playffwc.com, world championships, online championships. We've got the high stakes, the world championships, the mid stakes at the 350 level. And then we've got the starter leagues for the beginners, the $50 super flex bowl, the $25 and $50 starter leagues. We've got a little bit of everything at PlayFFWC, but wide receiver is very important. We see 4 wide receivers in the first round, and then the second round is yellow sticker round. So, that's the round where the ADP, unless you're looking at FFWC ADP, you will be surprised by how fast those wide receivers fly off the board. And if you were hoping to get one, a lot of the ones that you wanted to sort of anchor your team won't be there. Billy, we've seen a lot of bad roster construction in this format. And if you don't get 2, would you say by the 4th round you are in big trouble, or is it 2 by the 3rd round?
If you don't have 2 by the 4th round, I think you're going to be playing behind the 8 ball. We have some data that's going to be coming out. I know Mike's been working on it on the backside. Nothing's been released yet. I haven't seen the data even. I know that he is creating that to be able to see win rates by construction and by what rounds. That's part of the package coming alongside the ADP intel that we have been sharing. And David says that he just subbed the Full-Time Fantasy for that ADP intel. So thank you. Welcome to the family. Glad to have you here at the FFWC. The draft board view is amazing as well. So, there's going to be data to answer that question. I think just as a personal preference, I know the teams that I have built that I don't have my second receiver by the end of the 4th round. You're playing from behind at the position, and it's when you're starting 3 and there's as many as there are rostered in this format, you're always playing from behind, and you're grinding the waiver wire, and it's just challenging to find that extra receiver that you need on a week-to-week basis.
Anthony Rominger, shout out to Anthony, who has recovered from his health issues. We were praying for you a lot, man. I see in the chat, it says not a fan of Lamb in the 1st or the 2nd round, just haven't seen enough consistent production week in, week out. He was taken at 2-2 in this draft. Doesn't scare me a bit. Long and straight. Russell Cruz is a very accomplished drafter here. Takes Swift with Lamb. You have no problem with Lamb at 2-2, I would assume, even though this is his first time being the wide receiver 1.
I am higher on Lamb than most are. I have him one spot behind Diggs, so I have him. I think in order, it's Jefferson, Kupp, Chase, Diggs, Lamb, Evans in that order. So I am very comfortable with Lamb. I know he hasn't technically shown it, but if as a fantasy player and a fantasy manager, if you are waiting for people to show it, I'm going to say it's going to be a negative EV move, right? You want to be ahead of the show it. If people wanted to wait till Debo shows it, now they would have been paying round 2 prices versus round 9 or 10 prices last year. So I think that Lamb is going to have a breakout season. He's in store for 160 targets, 150-ish, right? On probably a conservative side. He's going to be the true unquestioned number 1 here. A lot is going to be dependent upon what was Gallup's status for week 1. What's happening there? How is Tolbert progressing, right? What's James Washington doing? So what's the Schultz contract? What's happening there? So if Gallup's not ready week 1, we're not expecting him to be. I could say wheels up for Lamb here in 2022.
Yeah, does it surprise you any that his ADP is 11 in the FFWC format over Diggs? I mean, there's competition for Diggs. You got Gabe Davis is looking phenomenal late in the season, and he's the fanboy for everybody that enjoyed that game. You know, if you like football, you enjoyed that game, and you saw Gabe Davis do so well. But that it seems like and Jameson Crowder's there now. It seems like maybe some of the shine is off Diggs a little bit, and he did in head-to-head formats. He let a lot of people down. I don't know how many weeks last year. We need Bob Lung's consistency report. There were a lot of weeks where Diggs didn't perform. Into the season, you look at the numbers and he's fine.
Yeah, he definitely had some spike weeks. He was definitely inefficient in terms of what we expect from Stephon Diggs. He still finished as the number 9 receiver in fantasy points per game, but by all means, he still had 1,225 receiving yards. He still had 1,800 air yards, which was wide receiver number 2. He had 164 targets, which was 5th most in the league. He had 567 routes run. That's number 7 in the league. Red zone targets. This is the one that people overlook with Diggs. He was number 2 in the league in red zone targets, the wide receiver position, with 34. He had 20 receptions in the end zone. So by all means, it was still very productive season for Diggs. Inefficient from his standpoint, but I'm still taking Diggs ahead of Lamb. You still want exposure to both. So if you're drafting multiple of these, you want to, rotate those in because you don't want to just have 50, 60% ownership of one player. If they get hurt, you're done, right? So Diggs to me is a slight lean favorite over Lamb simply because of the offense he's tied to and his consistency that he's been over the years.
Yeah, the FF Toolbox projections. I know you help Jody out with those. Jody's one of the best rankers in the country. You were very good last year as well, especially at the running back position, I believe. But Stephon Diggs, 111 receptions we had projected for 1,300 yards and just under 10 touchdowns. So that's a 300-point fantasy season. That's just bananas. I want to bring in Sean Childs. Is he in the back in the studio yet? Can you see that?
Yes, I can let him in.
Let's bring in Sean from Sports Illustrated Fantasy and our anchor and pioneer of the RDA analytics. Sean, it's good to see you, my man. I see that Sports Illustrated banner. How's things going, bud?
I'm doing good. Kind of feeling better and got through all the outlooks. Did the first run of the projections to just get a kind of feel for the players, and now you kind of have to tighten them up and kind of do some drafts and get an opinion of who you really like and who you're going to go to bed with as the season goes on.
Welcome to the show, Sean. How are you?
Good, and yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. I saw you. I think you posted them on Twitter today. Is that right? Or was it yesterday or today?
Yeah, they came up. Yeah,
I was looking through them. You had a player that I wanted to talk about. You had pretty high on there. I believe it was. I don't have it in front of me. I'll come back to it. I'm going to find it so that way I can ask you about it.
Yeah, I saw the outlooks. I talked to Sean earlier, and There were several players that we talked about. Let's start with DJ Moore. It's a player that we see now being drafted third round, 3-4. We talked about the addition of Baker Mayfield and what that might mean for him. Some people said that I think the opinion was this is the best quarterback that DJ Moore has ever played for and played with. And so that's interesting. His ADP is wide receiver 17 at pick 33. And he went a little bit earlier tonight. He went at pick 28. So talk about your thoughts with DJ Moore and the addition of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I'm doing the projections, I'm not really doing rankings, so it's a little different take than most. And when they see the visual of it, it's sometimes out of whack. But you're trying to put these players in these offenses and kind of come up with the numbers there. And then however it comes out, you see how it is, and then you kind of tighten it up a little later. But anyway, so as far as Moore is, McCaffrey's been hurt the last couple of years. So if McCaffrey's back on the field, he's gonna get 100 catches. Hopefully if he plays all 17 games, but. Moore, is kind of an exciting player. He's got a high floor in catches. And I really, like I said to you on the phone today, is that, I don't think Baker Mayfield has made any wide receiver better, as far as stats. I know in Cleveland they want to run the ball first, but, Jarvis Landry and even when Beckham was there was, Beckham struggled to do stuff. So I think Moore will get his stuff. I kind of had him, the same floor in, catches around 100, pushing him right there, maybe a little bit more per yards. And, I'm hoping that he gets a few more touchdowns. So I think he came out around 11th receiver, probably about where he should be. Nice, steady guy. But when you're trying to get that second guy, you're, steady like that is good. But, those guys that get the touchdowns are, a little more impactful. Will Mike, Evans, get a ton of touchdowns again, and we'll get a few more catches with the Godwin. So that'll be kind of a debate somebody will have. And, I'm not as high on Brown. I guess Brown for Philly, just where he goes, is kind of close, but I had him ranked a lot lower.
Well, and by the way, for those that aren't familiar with Sean Child's work, you can find him at si.com, Sports Illustrated. But king of the contrarian rankings, he doesn't go in with a set notion on an opinion. He does the analytic, does the back end work, goes into the lab, comes back out and says, oh my God, look at this, right? Here's these guys that came out last year with Jamar Chase, I think ranked as the 6th best wide receiver or something. And this was when all the news, Billy, was coming out about Jamar Chase dropping balls and everybody stopped drafting him, right? He was starting to fall. And I just remembered this team outlook that I had read about the Bengals said, oh my God, he's the 6th best wide receiver. Now, we didn't put him that high, but we put him as high as we possibly could in the industry. After reading that outlook from Sean. So, Sean, Jamar Chase this year, anything to suggest that production cools off, or is it just steady Eddie with Joey B?
He really kind of fit last year and, kind of actually had him undervalued the way it ended up happening. But as far as the catches last year, for anybody that liked him in fantasy drafts, it was really, really good because people were thinking he was dropping balls and he didn't really move up in drafts. But if he has one, breaks one for 75 yards, scores 2 touchdowns, everybody's in on him. So it was kind of kept as really a good buy-in opportunity. But this year I expect him to get, the shorter catches. So he's still going to have the explosiveness. He's big play guy. He can take a short pass into a long touchdown. He's really going to be, I think he's going to be a Hall of Fame receiver. And I really, really love what he brings to the table. And he actually came up a little higher than Kupp. Kupp, you can't project Kupp for another 145 catches. So, I had him at 123, a little concerned with the Rams left tackle retiring and stuff like that. So, Kupp, came a little behind him, but, Chase, I think, has scored a lot of touchdowns and a pretty exciting guy.
Okay, the running back I mentioned earlier, I found it was Antonio Gibson. So, Antonio Gibson in your projections right now is sitting at running back 9. Walk me through why you're high on Antonio Gibson. I know, are you concerned with the addition of Robinson, then bring back McKissick, or walk me through your thought process?
I wasn't really concerned Robinson unless Gibson has an injury. When you look at the first 2 years of Gibson, he scored touchdowns. I think he scored like 11 the first year rushing and maybe 7 last year and had a few catches. So he scored the touchdowns. He's got the pass catching ability, even though he was really the second guy behind McKissick the last couple of years. He had 258 rushes last year. I'm doing that off the top of my head. So, and 37 catches or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but they show the high volume stuff, and he was a little nicked up at times. So I don't love their offensive line, but in the in the structure of their offense, he is a guy they should lean on. He's going to get, stuff on all 3 downs. McKissic kind of really makes sense in the games when Washington falls behind and they kind of chasing. He'll still get mixed in with stuff, but he's not going to steal many Russian touchdowns in close and stuff like that. So I think that when in some of the drafts, I mean, he was going in like the 4th round in some drafts, and I was like, wow, he seems like he's really out of line. It's not like I really forced him to be number 9. That's just the way it came out. But I respect his ability to catch more passes, and I know he'll score touchdowns. And 300 touches is well within reach, and he was pretty close to it last year.
Yeah, his ADP right now at FFWC for the Player Profile Championship is running back 22. He's going at pick 54 on average to the first few drafts. I have seen him fall as late as like round 6 at times. I know a lot of people are concerned with Brian Robinson. I don't think he's going to see the field as much as people are anticipating, and maybe it's a vulture here and there. But Gibson was very efficient. You were pretty damn close on all the numbers that you shouted off for his stats. He finished with 258 rushing attempts, 1,037 yards, 42 receptions, and almost 300 receiving yards, 294 and 10 touchdowns. So very impressive off the top of your head there.
Yeah, he's a guy that's really. I mean, I guess you really like him to sit there because that's kind of you're cheating at the running back position. He kind of fits what you're looking for, especially in this format where you're kind of really, really heavy wide receivers and you're trying to get an edge at those yellow stickers.
Hey Billy, can you show? Sorry to interrupt. Can you show the folks at home the visual ADP board? Will that work on the show live, or are they just going to have to see it in the draft room?
You might be able to with the back office, but if I'm not in the draft, I can't do it because I don't have back office attachments. But if you click on the league, I can give you access and you can share it, but I cannot do it from my side.
Let's see, because I've got the link to it, but it's interesting how it shows that people stand out sort of in the draft.
Did you put the link? Did you put the link inside the chat? Let me see.
Yeah. Just put it there. I don't know if it'll work.
Yes, it does. Here you go. Boom.
And then you gotta click. Hide blocked players, or maybe it's already blocked.
I just did it. Yeah. So here's the new board that was created. It's linked to the ADP. So rather than a standalone ADP like you would see here, like we have at the FFWC, that you can click the players as they're drafted, rather than having to try to keep up and click this, you can simply just go to the ADP board. It's listed all by average draft position. You can click the show or block out pick players at the top right here, and boom, look at that. So someone saw the value. I showed it, and he just went immediately after. The pick 54 right there.
Yeah, it was standing out. It was standing out in a sea of gray there, and it's like it kind of, at a glance, when you're on the clock and you're kind of stuck, you can see the consensus picks. Now, it's not something that, maybe, the high stakes veterans are, but again, there's always times when you're like, man, this is a value, regardless of what I think. This is a value pick, and we see, a couple of picks here that are value, that are just sort of standing out right now that people are passing over. I did see a wide receiver that just got drafted that I wanted to talk about because, again, it's another pick of that Sean that we talked about earlier today, and it was at the end of the 5th round. Sean, you said something about the Jets wide receiver that you thought the numbers looked good for and that I was going to be happy about.
Yeah, Elijah Moore. I mean, he's, for those 6 games last year, 34, maybe 450 yards and 6 touchdowns over like a 6-game stretch were pretty impressive. And that was, a couple of those games with a backup quarterback in there. So the Jets did a lot of nice things in the offseason, added pieces. Their defense doesn't really project where it's going to be impactful as slowing down teams. So they're going to have to score the receiver there. And then, Corey Davis will be in the mix as well. But, he's a quick, fast guy. He can do some stuff, and I just think that he's positioned to probably be a value. You'd like to see him. I mean, the projections come out how they are, but I think he was 32nd ranked or something when I saw something. I don't know where you guys have him.
39.
39.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a pretty good value. So I mean, he came out as 16th receiver. It's just it's early when you're doing the projections, so there could be some other catches that should slide to the running back position. They did improve their tight ends, but overall he's the guy that should be the most exciting, but he does have to stay on the field for all 17 games.
And he's your wide receiver 4.
Yeah, and a nice thing about him here as well, people don't really notice when they think of him. he wins his routes all the time. Like 47.8% of the time he wins his route. He was 9th best in the league in route win rate. So that's just phenomenal. It's nice to get the value that he's been going at here in drafts lately. I've been enjoying his value. I know people had some concerns with Wilson. We're seeing maybe a little bit of a bump lately with all the news surrounding Wilson and the Jets camp now. So I hope his ADP doesn't climb too much, because I've been really liking where he's been going.
Yeah, I don't think they can move up too much. Sometimes the other players have better stats, so it's hard to put them in front of other options. But it's like Lazard, I guess, just popped up in yours. I mean, the gap between Lazard and Moore is pretty wide for me. Even though Lazard has the appearance of being in a good situation, but I would definitely gravitate towards a Jets receiver there.
So you had another running back I wanted to ask you about that you had in your projections at number 31, and that's my boy Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny was the number 1 running back down the stretch, over 600 yards, over 6 touchdowns. He outscored Jonathan Taylor down the stretch. News today is that they are expecting 20 carries a game for him. Is this projection concerned about health or just this offense in general?
It's interesting. When you write the outlook, you kind of look at the player profile and how it fits in the offense, and you're kind of doing it without looking at the numbers, and you kind of ballparking it. So I was pretty. I mean, I've had Penny for a number of years, and he's obviously disappointed multiple times, and you caught him a nice run last year, but probably didn't get him in the right teams to win the overall or something. But anyway, so he he made all those big plays. He had all those big games, but he had Russell Wilson throwing the ball, and he had those wide receivers in the background. So now, when you you change the quarterback position, you add a tight end, and the offensive line isn't that great, and how they're going to defend him. So my concern was that he wouldn't make as many big plays. So I was conservative, and I backed him down to like 4.3 yards per rush, which was well below what he was over 6 last year. I think it was insanely high. So will he make the big plays? I'm not sure he's going to make as many, but he does have a lot better chances. So I was kind of excited when I did the outlook, conservative when I did the projections, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't draft him, a little bit higher. So that's what I think the most important thing with Penny is kind of evaluating what happens in that camp over the next month at the running back position and how they're going to rotate it. I don't see a lot of catches out of him. He will get some. So that's a kind of a factor, especially in the PPR format. So, will that offense score enough touchdowns all around to, support, the running back position? I think Carson for me is not a factor. I think that injury is going to, keep him out of action. And I think he'll ultimately have minimal value this year.
Yeah, listen to this run. Week 14, 16 attempts, 137 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. He's got week 15 was pretty mediocre with 11 and 39, but then week 16, 17 for 135 and another touchdown. Week 17, 25 for 170 and 2 touchdowns. Week 18, 23 for 190 and 1 touchdown. He had a handful of catches in each one of those games during down that stretch. So he had a total of 749 yards, but he really only played
there he is.
Three games. Look at that. We drew him up the board. So prior to that, he only played 3 games. He only saw a total of 15 attempts. And so once he was finally given the rock, I feel like they finally utilized him right. Because I'm with you. I was in the same boat for years. Like I kept drafting Penny and kept drafting Penny and kept drafting Penny and get let down. I did not own him on the right teams last year. I had him in a few that definitely helped with the Dominator, but to be 80-90% ownership in Penny in years past and just have late stabs on him if it never to materialize and it finally hits, it's disappointing. But it was finally nice to see the talent break out and the offense finally give him the rock and lean on him. Which brings me kind of to my next talking point with Walker. People have been overdrafting Walker. What's your take on Walker this year? Do you trust him in the offense with Pete Carroll? Because I agree, his career's probably over. Those neck injuries never go well for players. And Carroll's Mr. Optimistic, and when he's saying, "Oh, we'll see what happens when the pads get on," doesn't really bode well for my confidence inside of his health. So, what are you doing with Walker? What are you expecting this backfield to do? Are you expecting more of a 60 or 70-30 split? What do you think's going to happen?
I was neutral on Walker. He's kind of, he looks attractive and, needs volume of touches and didn't see a lot of, catches there either. To me, the explosiveness of Penny is a little more intriguing. I think, the change in, quarterback position requires them to run the ball. And I mean, you got to look at last year is that Seattle was like one of the worst teams in the league getting defense. I mean, getting offenses on the field. So it was kind of like teams just kind of marched on them in time of possession. But if they could, control the clock a little bit better and create some more opportunities, they didn't run a lot of plays. I mean, there is a better, all around for the both running backs. But I'm just kind of neutral on them. I don't think if you ask me today, I probably wouldn't fight for him in drafts, and I would eat in Penny. I like the explosiveness, but he's gonna have to fall in the proper range for me to get him. But if Penny has an issue, and he's not missed a lot of time in his career, that Walker is obviously going to bounce up a lot, and he's going to, the number of touches he possibly could get is going to help his value a lot.
There is a guy that I want to ask you about, Sean. This is Sean Childs from Sports Illustrated Fantasy, si.com/fantasy. Helped us build Full-Time Fantasy, instrumental in building Scout Fantasy with us originally, and then Full-Time Fantasy, had been with us every step of the way. There's another guy that's being drafted around this spot that is very polarizing. I know Billy's polarizing about him. I'm very standoffish on him. It just scares the hell out of me, and it's Miles Sanders. His ADP window is huge, right? You either have 12 – there can be a guy in there that really likes him, and there can be people in there that just totally won't touch him. His low is 62, and his high is 89. 62, 89 is the high-low ADP on that. So it's a huge stretch. He can be, right there at the beginning of the 6th round all the way through the 8th. What is your take on Miles Sanders? And would you take Rashad Penny? Just push come to shove. 2 of them are on your board. You need a running back, Rashad Penny or Miles Sanders.
I'm going to take Sanders.
Right.
It's the situation when you look back at Sanders. I mean, his yards per carry are there. He has a season where he caught 50 balls. Last year, Boston Scott, didn't he score like 7 touchdowns when Sanders was out? So it's not like Sanders would have got them all, but he would have got, some, and they scored enough rushing touchdowns, and Hurts is going to, steal a lot of there. But I think that he will score more rushing touchdowns. He'll make big plays. Their overall offense looks pretty intriguing, especially with the setup of the 2 receivers in the tight end. So he's just a guy he's your RB3, I would think, in this format. I'm not sure where he goes, but he has an RB3 in a normal structure. I mean, I could see that he's an RB2 on that team. He's got so many wide receivers, but in a lot of formats, he's going to be your RB3 rotating in. And I think that's a pretty good player to get because, he can have 3-down ability. I think that, Gainwell is a pretty good pass catcher, and they do kind of make him a pain in the ass at the goal line. They look like they're going to throw to him and let him run it up the middle, and he got a couple scores that way. He might have had 4 or 5 touchdowns, but, I just think that Scott got a lot of Sanders scoring and stuff last year, and I think Sanders, if he can stay healthy, will get that. And he helps his floor with his pass catching ability.
And Billy, I'll toss it to you for your feedback on Sanders. Here's a guy that goes on TikTok and says, "Do not draft me. It's just the way our offense is, guys." That's scary. That's scary for anybody.
Yeah, they haven't committed to him. I was drafting a lot more than him. I was expecting them to utilize him more, but when he actually came on and said they're not utilizing me, pretty much, don't draft me. If he doesn't have confidence in his own self, like it makes me kind of hesitant.
He wants the ball. He has confidence in himself. He just says that's the coaches. That's what they do here.
So you have to think though from like just a pure like running plays and what they're going to be able to do with the ball, because with AJ Brown, you're going to think they're probably going to be on the field more. They're going to be in more favorable matchups and probably have to kill the clock more down the stretch. So I do think we're going to see an uptick in usage this year. I mean, Sean hit a lot of points. So there's a couple that I want to talk to. They were already running a team run plays per game. They were number 1 in the NFL, 32.1. So what does that look like moving forward? Are they going to be 34, 35, 36? Just give him an extra 4 or 5 touches a game, and if so, okay, I'm interested, right? His breakaway rate is there. He's 8% breakaway rate. That's 11 breakaway runs. And for those who don't know that metric, it's 15 yards or more per carry or during those carries. So he's explosive. Again, I agree with Sean. Like this 0 touchdowns it's not going to happen again. It's not in the realm of outcomes in 2022, in my opinion. So you throw in even 5, 6, which is what he was averaging before, and he's a top 20 back. So I like them both. I think within that range, it's one of those things that you want to make sure that you have shares of each. You don't don't want to be caught without shares. So I think you have to take them, and you just have to have ownership of them. But if I'm on the clock, I'm also taking Sanders as well, just because this offense is going to be more explosive, and you're going to want to have that favorable pace of play.
And I know we're out of time, Sean. I'm going to squeeze in one last one because I just got to do it. Javonte Williams, another polarizing player. Some people are taking in the early second. Some people are letting slip to the third because they're afraid of the timeshare. How did your numbers turn out when Melvin Gordon was announced that they were bringing him back? Is it a 50-50 split, 60-40? Where did the numbers come out with the system?
I was probably. I mean, I didn't get to start doing the projections, so that was after release. So I mean, I would think that Williams is definitely going to push forward and get more touches, but Gordon's going to get in the way. I didn't really, dismiss Gordon going down a lot, but I mean, it's probably going to be like a 60-40, maybe 62-38, and but both players are capable, and having a better quarterback is going to create more opportunities. So it's a pretty exciting situation for the running back position, especially even when my friend Jeff Dawson uses that line, is that when Wilson was in trouble in Seattle, like they're always barely just hanging around, keep the game close, but when he was he called him a tea bag. When it was put him in boiling hot water in the fourth quarter, he would kind of do stuff, you know what I mean, when the game's on the line. But maybe being in Denver, they'll let it be a little more aggressive and try to score early and get the lead and do more stuff. So, and that'll create more scoring. So he's kind of neutral. I'm pretty excited. I don't think I would take him as fight for him like early in the second round, but in that 2-3 turn, he definitely is going to be in play for me.
Yeah.
Let me just say two things on Sanders there.
Okay.
If Philly's offense can gain 3,000 yard rushing, 4,000 yards passing, they're going to be one of the best offenses in the league. And there's not many teams, and they were really close last year, and they didn't run the ball that well at the beginning of the year. And then as far as Sanders, when you compare him to like Elijah Mitchell, you got Elijah Mitchell, you got a quarterback that's going to run the ball a lot. You got a wide receiver who's going to steal away, and he doesn't catch a lot of catches. So what really advantage does that guy have over a Sanders other than the perception that he doesn't score? So just a comparison, and Mitchell didn't come out as hot. But I mean, not that I don't like that offense, and I know San Francisco wants to run the ball and stuff. So just
I know you the optimizer last year, the DFS lineup optimizer, it did give Devonta Smith quite a bit last year with your projections. Is he a guy that you are expecting to take that leap this year?
I don't know if there's enough. I think it's a 3-way split, pretty close. I like all of them. The tight end Godard only had less than the game. I mean, he should get a few more than that. But AJ Brown, I probably had a rated lower than most for sure. But he's a good player. He's going to add explosiveness, but there's going to be games that Philly just runs the ball and he's not going to get many chances. So he's going to be kind of up and down player.
All right, before we let him go, I want him to pick a team that he likes right now. Let's go through round 8. Can you see the board here?
Yep, I can see the board.
So let's pick team through 8 since 9's not done yet. Let me know who your favorite team is and why.
One. I don't in this format. I don't think of Brown. I'm a little down. Bateman I like, but I don't consider him, impactful for sure. He could be. Davis I like, but as a wide receiver too, that's kind of a tricky. But he does got the running backs. I'm not as big a fan of Fournette because of his short yards per catch. He really pass protects well. No second receiver there, no tight end. That's going to change his value. So the Eckler, Williams, pretty exciting. Chubb, pretty solid. But then, if Thomas comes back, that looks pretty good. Got a good tight end. Didn't need to double at quarterback probably in this format. Is this a best ball?
No.
This is a PlayerProfiler Champion, formerly online championship.
Yeah, you probably gave away a pick there. Cup, Tyreek Hill, pretty exciting. I don't want to,
Did they pull off 0 RB? Or not really, but still four wide right out of the gate. Come out with Montgomery and Sanders.
Yeah, I like Montgomery a lot last year. Just don't trust the quarterback play there and the changing thing. And he had a little knee injury. I'm kind of more neutral on him. I do think Smith-Schuster, that team probably structure-wise is pretty good. Maybe just I would probably make a little bit different decision. Like I would rather have Gibson over Montgomery for sure. And but like Cook there. Hutton. I mean, that for this format, that's the right kind of structure you want to have, I think. But I don't want to tire. You got somebody sitting in the wings here, so it'd be hard for me to go them all and suck up all the time for you.
It's all right, man. We appreciate you being on and appreciate your insights as always. You can find him on, again, SI.com. You Google a player name, you're going to find probably some of Sean's work. Some of it's behind the paywall, of course, at SI Fantasy, but and then it's on Twitter. Sean _Childs, the man with has 2 underscores in his Twitter handle. So good stuff, my man. Glad. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate
it. We'll talk again. Thanks.
Take care, Sean.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that like Billy. We talk a lot about player forecasts and player projections. I know we get caught up in that, but the stuff that really I like to do for these shows, that it's just fascinating for me, is the team construction. Team construction is so underrated in a lot of, especially in this format, because in a lot of formats they try to even it out across positions, so it can kind of bail you out. It doesn't matter. Right? Yeah, you get a good position anywhere because they elevate the tight end scoring or they increase quarterback scoring. They try to make it, they throw in third down conversions or something. It's just a lot of these formats level it out. And here at the FFWC, lineup construction is so important because if you don't have those 3 wide receivers, at least you're dead in the water, man. We see it every year. It's just if you don't have starting wideouts, you're toast. You're toast.
Yeah, there's a couple of teams here that I really like the construction. Like looking at Cole Schilling's construction here, starting off with Diggs and Adams, gets Mike Williams at the end of the third, which is just outstanding value. Cam Akers there for his first running back, gets Elijah Moore and Gage, comes back with Chase Edmonds, another PPR upside back, and then gets Olave there. I love the construction of that team. I like the construction of Pirate Monkeys as well. Comes out and gets Chase Evans. That is a sexy start.
Yeah.
Then gets Waddle here as his wide receiver 3, which I'm a lot more comfortable having Waddle as my 3 than my 2.
Right.
Gets Elliott to hang his hat on, comes back with St. Brown and Cooper. I'm not a big St. Brown fan, but okay, if it's your guy, get your guy. And this is the interesting piece that I want to talk about is he double taps Penny and Walker and says, hey, I'm going to own the back in this offense, whether it's Penny this week or if Penny gets hurt, it's Walker. What do you think of the strategy of double tapping those 2?
If the knee ain't right, it's time to take flight. I mean, you get Kenneth Walker as the handcuff, and it is interesting that that Sean was ahead of that curve a little bit from the news that came out today, and they said that look, Kenneth Walker. The news was that he's not guaranteed those touches, even if Carson is not playing. So they've got a decision there to make. Of what happens if it's not Rashad Penny, but that's DJ Dallas they're talking about for the third down role. And so maybe we see a DJ Dallas sighting tonight. I don't know. But, for dynasty owners, I know we're all in on Kenneth Walker as like the number 2, number 3 player in rookie drafts. That doesn't always translate to production in the first year, but it is a nice tell that, hey, they drafted him for a reason. They drafted Rashad Penny in the first round. They've been waiting on this kid to get over these injuries, and now that they don't have Russell Wilson, you better believe they're going to say, guy, this is your chance. This is your shot. You get one more. This is your last one. So he has a chance to prove it.
Quarterback has consistently been pushed down the board. Lamar Jackson 9-7 here. Burrow 10-2, Brady 10-4. We've been seeing these quarterbacks kind of run between the 9th round as of late in the FFWC. I love the value that late when you get Lamar Jackson in the 9th.
Oh, it's a no-brainer when you have the quality of quarterbacks that are falling in this format. By the way, shouts out to our sponsor and partner, Player Profiler. Unbelievable partnership. We're so excited about it. It's probably the most elite sponsorship and partnership we've ever had for this mid-stakes contest. The goal has always been to grow the high-stakes division through the mid-stakes contest, the affordable mid-stakes contest at the $300 price point for the 3-pack. It's a no-brainer to jump in. You can, if you win your league, you win an entry, a seat into the World Championship next year that's worth $1,825. Why would you take $1,300 cash over the $1,800 entry? You wouldn't, right? So that's going to build up the World Championship. We're super excited about the partnership. Your friend Matt Kelly, you guys do an exciting and a fantastic job on that show called The Dominator. Is that Wednesday nights?
Yeah, Wednesday night, 6 Eastern.
Yeah, great show on YouTube. Everybody subscribe to that. And everybody that wins a league in the Player Profiler Championship this year also gets a bonus prize. So the league prizes have even went up this year. A membership, a 1-year membership to that amazing Player Profiler site,
$135.
Yeah, $130 value for that. So that's an extra bonus prize on top of the league prizes. So that's a nice perk. And they do amazing work with their player cards and their player information, which we're looking at an integration for next year in the draft room. So it's only going to get better from here. Let's bring on our guest. I know Ash has been in the draft, or probably in the studio in the back. That's my man coming out of the 2-hole square hammer. We're going to talk about the name, and he fires away at his QB1 right as he joins the show. My man, Dak Prescott, just was taken as your QB1 with pick 119. What's up, man?
What's going on, guys?
Good looking team.
Welcome to the show, Ash. How are you?
You went RB heavy.
Yeah, it wasn't my, listen, you go in with a plan and then you got to, pivot. I picked second in the last draft. Hold on, let me make my pick.
Yeah, he's on the clock here.
I picked second in my last.
Let's ask him a bunch of questions.
In the red versus blue in the first one. So I took Jefferson. I went wide receiver first 3 picks in that one. So I said, let me change it up. I'll go McCaffrey and then go wide receiver heavy. And, of course, Hill got taken right in front of me. I wanted Javonte Williams. He got taken in front of me. So I took the wide receiver I wanted in Pittman. If I knew Breece Hall would be there for me coming back, I probably would have taken DJ Moore. But, I didn't think Breece Hall would be there for me. So, I should have taken DJ Moore and then maybe come back and taken Hall instead of Fournette. But I'm pretty happy with my team. I got some good high, I think, upside wide receivers. Not sure things by any stretch, but I do like Pittman. I do like Davis and Lazard. Somebody's got to catch the ball from Rodgers, so I'm hoping that's going to be Lazard. Hopkins, when he comes back, he should be a number 1 receiver. Robert Woods, if he can do anything comparable to what he did obviously he's not going to put up the numbers, different coaching staff, but if he can do 80% of what he did, it's a good pick there. And then Hines I took because he's a pass catcher, and they say they're going to use him in that role, so I figure that's another guy who can catch passes for him.
Yeah, and you did the right thing. You did the right thing, firing away at all those wide receivers. You have to do that when you start like this, especially in the FFWC. You fired away at 4 straight. Gabe Davis, Allen Lazard, DeAndre Hopkins, who will be back from the suspension and be an amazing wide receiver 4 for you, easy. And Robert Woods, who has to. I mean, somebody has to catch the ball. The vacated targets report is one of the neatest things I've ever seen in fantasy. Billy, tell everybody about the vacated targets report and what that meant for the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, I've been preaching vacated targets all year, and it's a pain in the ass to accumulate the data because it has to be manually pulled and you have to manually add it all up. But Tennessee Titans have the second most vacated targets. If you've gone over to the vacated target report over at the Full-Time Fantasy, I'm pulling it up now. I'm stalling as I'm finding it so that I can get the numbers. But about halfway down the page on the left, you can pull up the NFL vacated targets list, and Tennessee Titans are sitting at, here we go, 336 vacated targets. 64% of the team's target share was available.
Where are those gonna go?
For opportunities. So yeah, you have concerns with Burks and has asthma and news out of camp is Robert Woods is coming along and so somebody has to catch passes here. Austin Hooper is another name to keep an eye out for who's still on the board. It's been going later in drafts, so a lot of opportunities at the inside this pass catching receiving core for Tennessee.
Yeah, that's what I figured, and honestly, I hate the number 1 and number 2 spot this year. I mean, I love Jonathan Taylor, but I've been picking a lot in those spots, so it's been maybe I don't hate is the wrong word, but I've been picking a lot in those spots, so a lot of my teams kind of look similar. So I'm trying to get a little different build in this one because I just figured picking second in the first RVB. Like I said, I think I went Jefferson and Evans, and I can't remember the other wide receiver off the top of my head. But I figured, let me go running back first. And I like McCaffrey. I'm definitely scared about his injury situation. But again, if he is 80% of what he used to be, he's a surefire, top running back in the league.
Yeah, the news when you start talking about the asthma and Traylon Burks, one of the top receivers in this year's NFL rookie class, it sort of reminds me of the Jamar Chase talk, Billy, where everybody just, he's a top talent, but then it's a boring time for news. So people cling on to anything they can. And is that really news? He's played with this his whole life, right? I mean, asthma isn't a new condition for him. So even if it's cold and exercise-induced asthma like I have, which is a great excuse for not working out. I mean, Traylon Burks, again, the targets was so loud. They've got to throw the ball to somebody. And there's going to be some other names there. Nick Westbrook, a kind, and all, a lot of no-name wide receivers are going to catch the ball in Tennessee, no doubt. But Robert Woods is a good one. Traylon Burks is a good one. Austin Hooper coming up. All of those guys should catch the ball, and then you got Derrick Henry, just like always pounding the rock. Let's look at the Dak Prescott play there. That's value right in a draft, and again, no real reason to draft a quarterback early if you can get Dak Prescott, Ash, that late when you did.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was gonna be Hurts or Dak, whichever one fell to me. So it was Dak. The rookies are going a little higher than I think normally because I really wanted to put Tolbert with Dak, but somebody took him early in this draft. So I would have liked to have gotten him to put with Dak, kind of build some stacks there. But I feel like my team is pretty solid. A lot is going to depend on these number 2 wide receivers. I think Gabe Davis has a chance to be very good. I know he's the number 2 there, but there's a lot of vacated targets in that team as well. So I'm thinking, hey, that's a good pick for me, and I do usually go. I do like rookies. I tend to draft rookies a lot later, not as early as some of these guys took them in this draft. I have a dynasty league where I had the first five out of the first 8 picks. And I loaded up tremendously in that dynasty league, but so nice. I do love rookies, but it's definitely I notice the rookies are moving up the boards in these early drafts from when we were drafting a month ago. They're definitely climbing the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tolbert's ADP right now in the FFWC is going to be pick 131. He goes at the 11 on average right now. So he was taken a full round ahead of ADP. You got Prescott Scott mentioned the discount. His average draft position right now is pick 108 at pick 912. So you also got a full round of value on Prescott. Love where you got him there. Anytime I can see Dak Prescott in the 10th, it's like I'm clicking the button, my finger's broken. I'm trying to press the screen so fast.
Yeah,
hard.
I got sniped a few times. I thought maybe Hawkinson would fall to me. I didn't think Schultz would, but I figured Hawkinson might, but he didn't. And when you pick in these spots, sometimes, ADP has to go out the window and you got to take the player you want. So
yeah,
that's what I'm doing here. I'm saying to myself, I'm not going to get these guys coming back. So I got to pick them when I got the chance. It goes kind of in the face of how you really should draft.
Shots fired.
Sometimes you got to just take the player you want because they're just not going to be there.
Hey, I've always been looking for players, Billy and Ash, that can supplement DeAndre Hopkins being out and missing you 6 games. The one name that comes to mind, obviously, is Russell Gage. If you take him, it's Godwin trying to get back into rhythm, right? And then Jalen Tolbert is another one that, if Michael Gallup isn't ready, which it doesn't sound like, and Jalen Tolbert is a week 1 starter. It's another guy that you could plug in for the early part of the season while you're.
Well, trust me, I would love all those guys, but. We were talking about that on the chat room in the draft, and every time you guys mention a name, they come off the board. So we're kind of annoyed.
Mark Sanchez.
That's what the Red versus Blue draft's about. We don't make any apologies for it. It is part of the show.
No,
and you got to be ready for that. Sometimes you will get sniped like that. So Austin Hooper. I know you need a tight end. But Billy, the quarterback run that doesn't happen until the 10th, 9th, 10th, 11th round. Again, no reason to really take a quarterback. Now there was actually 4 teams that didn't have a quarterback when he took Dak, and he's on the end of the start of the run there, either at that 10-11 turn. He knows he has to take one there because it's a long way back. Those 4 wide receivers, 4 quarterbacks to be gone.
Just got sniped again.
So there's another quarterback I want to name, and I'll see how fast he goes off the board as soon as we select him, and that's him right there. Uncle Rico's still on the board. I think it's a great value at this point. So we got to make sure that we draft Uncle Rico here.
Is he on the list? We got to get Mike to add him on the list.
We should get
Uncle Rico's got to be on there. More news about Texans second round wide receiver John Mechie, a man coverage beater. Mechie is recovering from his December ACL, but that's Pep Hamilton, and he considers him a man coverage beater. I kind of like hearing that. The Texans got to throw to somebody. They got Brandon Cooks, who does miss time. He's known to miss some time. Ooh, you went Albert O. Okay.
Yeah,
Albert O.
I do like him. I think he's going to put up some nice numbers in that offense. So I said, let me take him now because, again, he's not going to be – I mean, I could have maybe got him at the turn, but, I figure, take him now. Just didn't want to wait much longer on that. And
let's see who he takes here. By the way, Ash, you saw that Ash took Kenny Golladay. That's a New York homer pick right there. I think secretly deep down he's a Giants fan.
Never. But
question I'll buy you some time as you're picking here.
Yeah, buy him some time.
You took Albert O right there at the 12-11, though the GOAT on the tail end right there at the 12-2, he took tight end. Do you just want to get your guy there? You're afraid, hey, what if he doubles down here? Or do you ever look at it and say, hey, he just took tight end 2 rounds ago. I don't think he's going to take tight end. I'm going to take it on the 13-2 and take somebody else here. What's your thought process when you're looking at the board? I'm still trying to buy time. When you're looking at the board.
Yeah, it's
Go ahead.
exactly why. I took him because I figured I was going to take Javonte or Jefferson coming back. I was looking to see if there was anybody else I really liked. So I got the both that I was going to take anyway, but I didn't think if I passed tight end now that I would ever see him coming back. So I had to take him in one of these 2 picks. And I do like some tight ends later that I think have some real potential. So I'm not a guy who drafts tight ends early. I never do. I do a lot of drafts with Dave Mora. He loves taking Kelsey in the first round. He loves it. I don't. I hate it. I don't take tight ends in the first round. And look, Kelsey's a different animal when it comes to tight end position, but, they're just so undervalued. Not undervalued. Their value is just not there for me to take them in the first round or take them early. It's just a preference. So I'll take a couple of shots later. I probably won't draft the defense and a kicker and just take 3 tight ends and see how it shakes out.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Yep. He does take, Billy, a Rams wide receiver there, Van Jefferson, who has the chemistry with Matt Stafford from last year. In comes Allen Robinson. You're paying wide receiver 25 price versus wide receiver 65 price for Van Jefferson. What are the odds? What odds would you give me that Van Jefferson outproduces Allen Robinson?
Less than 3%.
I don't know.
I took him because I figure, listen, injuries happen.
Yeah.
He does have some games. He'll put up a game or 2 where he goes off. He always has them. He'll have 2 games a year where he'll just go off. Whether or not he's starting for me in those games, I don't know. But at that point, I'm looking for upside, and Jefferson has it. Who was I going to take there? All the receivers left are kind of middling, and so I took a guy who has some high upside. There's some others that I'll take later on.
And that's the thing. He's a great boom bust player right now. I like him more for best ball than I do in redraft, just because of those spike weeks. We saw him last week in week 4. He was the number 8 receiver. We saw him in week 12 against Green Bay last year. His number 13 receiver. We saw another top 20 finish in week 13 against Jacksonville, where he's number 19 receiver. So he has the upside. Drops were his biggest issue last year. He did have a lot of drops. I think he led the league, or was near the top in league in drop rates. Let me confirm here.
He quit on the season.
Yeah. So he had quite a bit of, I think it was number 34 in drops. So there we go, 5.9% rate. So not as bad as I thought it was, but still it stuck out more than I think he had some in the playoffs is what it was. So I have concerns with him. I also love the offense. It's another using the strength of schedule tool though at FFWC full time fantasy. Sorry, you see where the wide receiver position is for the Los Angeles Rams. They're middle of the pack, so nothing to be too scared about. But again, he's playing as the third option here in this offense, and it's going to require an injury, I think, for him to kind of overcome that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at this point, you're taking flyers on players.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's the one I took the flyer on. I mean, there's a few others. Hopefully, I won't get sniped. I've been getting sniped a lot in this draft. Usually, it doesn't happen this often, but I've been getting it a lot this particular draft. So, and this is the problem picking second. When you make your pick, you got to wait. So I love picking in the number 6 hole because you're only waiting 12 picks between your picks, and so, it's rare that you'll get sniped like this. But when you're picking in the number 2 hole or the number 1 hole, it happens a lot. So, it's just a preference. I know guys love picking first overall, second overall. But I think this year, other than Taylor, that number 2 pick, it's kind of wide open. Like you said, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, McCaffrey. I was even thinking Najee Harris. I was going to go Najee Harris at number 2. But he doesn't catch the ball. I mean, he does. He catches a lot of passes. But I probably should have went him just because – the injury issue, but I'll take my shot with Chris, and if he puts up a year like he did 3 years ago, it'll probably win the league. So we'll see.
And last question, Ash. It may turn out that the most important pick of your draft is the performance of Gabe Davis, your wide receiver 2. Absolutely. It's a very important pick to nail. You cannot miss it with the way you constructed the draft. Almost, I mean, you can, of course. Things can happen. And he put on some weight. He's now 227, full of muscle. He weighed at 210 last year. And do you think he can run with that weight? A lot of times you bulk up and you get a little too big and you lose some of that speed.
Well, I think how they use him, because I'm a Jet fan, I watch a lot of Buffalo games. And I really thought his year would happen 2 years ago. I had him in a lot of teams, not last year, 2 years ago. I really thought that's when he was going to show up. And even last year, his early season stuff was not great, but I think he's a real great red zone target, especially now with his bulked up body. I think he could definitely be I expect 10 touchdowns minimum from him. And he won't be a 100 catch player, but if he catches 80 balls and 10 touchdowns, man, I'll be thrilled with that. I don't know if those are the numbers he's going to hit, but that's kind of what I'm projecting. So, and like I said, I had to do a different roster construction because of my last team, and maybe I shouldn't think of that too much, but I didn't want to have similar teams.
Awesome, Ash. I appreciate it. Good luck with the rest of the draft, and we always love having you on. Will we see you in RVB? Are you going to complete the sweep?
I probably will.
All right,
awesome.
RVB 3 is coming up. All right, man. Good luck the rest of the way. Glad you came on.
All right, guys. Thanks man.
Thanks, Ash. Take care.
Okay, guys.
We have who's next on the list? Is it Jack?
Clint Sloan. Yeah. Pass the mic. The 5 spot. Pass the mic. Hates the 5 spot.
Yeah, he's not in the back. We got Jack Kolstein in here. You want to bring him in early?
Yeah, bring on Jack. Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Jack. Thanks. How are you?
Hey, what's up, guys?
I'm loving your draft here to the beginning. I absolutely loved what you did. I have many Diggs Adams starts myself. You got great value on Mike Williams coming all the way back there, the 312. You take Akers there, Elijah Moore, Gage, Edmonds, Olave, and then you start painting it green. You take Rashad White, Gainwell, Madison, all very good handcuffs here on their teams. PPR. High upside play at all PPR upside. Yep, you get Trey Lance for high upside quarterback play. Take Gerald Everett and Palmer. How you feeling about your team right now?
I'm feeling great. I came into this with the plan of building around Akers. I actually used the ADP tool you were talking about earlier and just wanted to see 12 spot who's somebody that I can reliably build around. And Cam Akers was landing there. And as far as I'm concerned, he's I mean, the Rams tend to use one back in the playoffs. He was getting 75% of the carries, and he was getting targets in the backfield. He's had 6 months to recover from where we saw him last. If he didn't come back at all, I think everybody would feel much better about him and not have that bitter taste in their mouth. So I thought that's a late value running back I can build around instead of taking running back maybe in round 2 and building around it there. So I thought like a late anchor was something I wanted to do. And when Diggs and Adams came and then, Williams falling, I was really pleased.
Jack is no rookie to fantasy drafting, but you are. This is your first season at the FFWC. It seems like you took to the format quickly. What do you attribute the? I don't know. It's like a crash course. You're ready for this format by the looks of the receiver builds. Is that something you've always done in other drafts too? And this just sort of made a lot of sense when you came to the FFWC, or did you have to really like soak some stuff up to kind of get comfortable with that format?
It's taken a little bit. I tend to be a value drafter, best player available, sort of, fit whatever comes to me. But I've had to, at least in the FFWC, I've had to get much more focused on my team structure, make sure that I'm filling out the spots because, it's really easy for somebody like me to fall into some sort of value trap on these RBs that fall. And then all of a sudden, one individual pick might have been a value, but it throws off the rest of the team. So that's been, the major adjustment given the greater push for wide receivers. But it's been a lot of fun.
Have you been utilizing the ADP tool, or what have you attributed your, I should say, early adaptation to the format?
It's a combination of my personal rankings and the ADP tool, and just trying to find, the picks where those two converge tend to be, pretty good options. So I don't try to go too much one or the other, but both are pretty important components.
Yeah. Did you get sniped in the 5th round there with that Elijah Mitchell? I know a lot of people, there's Gibson you could have had, but, or did you go in with a plan like a target list, and Elijah Moore is on that target list. So you wanted to make sure you kind of had him on there as an option because you came back with Gage too.
Yeah, no, I was really happy Moore was there, and that was it was not necessarily wide receiver at all costs, but that is a wide receiver unless there's just a terrible taste in my mouth sort of pick there. So no, really happy about that, and it's just really fallen in a good place.
Yeah, I heard the fantasy footballers, Billy, talking up Elijah Mitchell over the last day or two. Just thinking that, looking at the value, looking at the ADP, and just looking back at his season, and of course you're gonna he missed some time, so maybe the durability is an issue. But they sort of found a gem in Elijah Mitchell that they didn't really expect. Everybody was thinking, okay, Trey Sermon was drafted for that role, and here's Elijah Mitchell. There's no more Mostert on the squad. What do you think about Elijah Mitchell holding the fort down as like an RB3?
Is that a question for me or Jack? Sorry.
Yeah, well, for you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little biased, but I love Elijah. I liked him last year. I had him in round like 18, 19 and probably 60, 70% of leagues. Then, week 1 happens and you get excited about someone else and he didn't do anything. And it's going to take 3 injuries plus for him to really amount to anything. So you drop him. And then, of course, week 2, boom, he's the starting running back and runs away with the job. It's hard to argue with the opportunity share, right? 80.8% opportunity share, running back 3 last year in the league, only really behind Derrick Henry and one other. So, love him. You look at his carries, 207 carries last year. Team run plays per game, the pace of play, again, also favorable for the running back position here. Shanahan system in general, also favorable for the running back. So I definitely like him. I like the price where he's going at as well. I saw a site that had him as the on a prop bet for the league's 3rd best rushing amount of yards. So it was aggressive, I thought, but love to see that as a Niner fan and as a player who has a decent amount of Elijah Mitchell. So I like it. I do think Tyrion Davis-Price will eat into his workload a little bit because he's more athletic than Wilson. It just proves they don't trust Sermon. So I think that we're going to see a little bit of Tyrion Davis-Price, probably more as the season progresses. But I would not be surprised to see like down the stretch of a 65-35 split down the end.
Yeah, and the fact that Shanahan has featured a different lead back all 5 of his seasons that he's been there. That's always a concern. I love the back-to-back. Or he gets the Austin Hooper. He needed the tight end too there. Just look, I'm high on Gerald Everett, but it's nice to get a player like Austin Hooper too, just in case the chemistry isn't there. I don't know why the chemistry wouldn't be there. I think waiting on your tight end and getting Gerald Everett, he's my target guy this year. Justin Herbert, I mean, who doesn't want a piece of that puzzle, right? You have Mike Williams, you have Keenan Allen, and then you have Josh Palmer, who he also took here. Getting a couple of pieces, you got to be pretty excited about it, Jack.
You know, if you took Jared Cook's targets from last year and applied them to Gerald Everett's efficiency from last year, it's like a top 5-6 tight end right there. Just, no improvement on anything. So I think it's a great pick. Oh, okay. So all right. There you go.
Yeah, I like the hat. I like those. I like that style. I've been wanting to get a green one for a while. Everett Palmer, that's a nice move, especially if there's an injury to Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. Billy, you get both those guys are see improved targets if either one of those guys goes down.
Yeah, it's a sharp play. I'm really loving his draft. I see a lot of similarities in the way he's constructing his team to how I like to construct teams. A lot of the players he's attacking late are a lot of players that are on my list. I know you've seen me do the Gerald Everett Hooper double tap as well. He hit the hammer on the nail when he talked about Cook's target share. 102 vacated targets alone at the tight end position for the Chargers. They only have 134 vacated targets, but of those, 76% alone at the tight end position. So Everett stepping into a major role just alone based upon what's been available. And then same thing with Hooper. We mentioned the Tennessee Titans available targets, 63 alone at the tight end position, but we also have the wide receiver concerns. Early reports out of camp is that that Hooper and Ryan Tannehill are been connecting frequently, early and often in camp. So this might become kind of the breakfast club. Next thing you know, he's having breakfast with his quarterback, like Cooper Kupp and Stafford. We're not going to take it that level yet, but it's definitely a possibility. It seems to be an early favorite inside the
and I like battles. The way that his 8-9 picks, Olave and White, are almost luxury picks in this chase for the $50,000, the Player Profile Championship. They're luxury picks because if they don't hit, his team isn't broken by any means. He was able to get them at a price that says, you know what, even if they don't pan out, that's okay. I'm taking a shot and a swing, and those are nice. Everybody likes to have players that have unknown upside. And Olave and White both have that, especially with an injury. So that's the price where I like to take a shot. Talk about the Olave and Rashad, and we'll move on, man. But I like those picks.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it was kind of all Edmonds because if my second running back, I feel good about just on a week to week, starting in week 1 on, that kind of allows me to be a little bit more bold in the running back depth to pick players like Rashad White, who, may not hit, but if he hits, league winner. So, if that second running back was maybe a little bit more dried up and I ended up with somebody a little bit more
like Singletary
contingent, in their value, then I might have to be a little bit more conservative with that.
Yeah, I love it. Great stuff for the draft, for the RVB debut here. A lot of fun having you on, and good luck in the competition, man. We'll have to get you on some more.
Yeah, this is great. Appreciate it, guys.
Love the draft, Jack.
Man,
take care.
A rookie coming in and bringing that kind of heat to RVB. That is
it's a phenomenal team right now.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
And he did something that I talked with you that I love doing too. Like we talked about the Russell Gage stack with Hopkins, and same thing can be said here for Russell Gage and Olave. As soon as Gage is tapering off, Olave is getting acquainted with the NFL speed. He's getting comfortable in the offense. He's starting to connect with his quarterback, who knows having Michael Thomas. So Olave could be a late game or a late season addition to his wide receiver core, right as Russell Gage is starting to taper off with Godwin coming back.
I was going to ask him. I'll ask you. Let's answer the burning question. What could go wrong? The major Achilles heel here is what? Trey Lance is not the, just doesn't have the accuracy, and he's all over the place, and he's not the guy. And Jimmy G
Yeah.
stepped in, but you pick him up on waivers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's or it just doesn't pan out. You find somebody else. There's always a quarterback available. Teams are going to draft 2 or 3 of these, and they're going to drop them when waivers start coming, and they want to start getting another addition to their team. So I'm not worried about the quarterback position. If he's weak at one position, it should be quarterback position. So I'm fine with it. I that's where I'd like to be weak as well.
And I'll bet you that by the time Vegas gets here, Chase Edmonds is no longer being drafted that late in the 7th round. It's not going to happen. I just think people are going to look at that offense and say, you know what? Dumpers are what Tua needs. He needs to be able to throw a dumper every once in a while, especially, you got Tyreek, of course, but you need to be able to just, have that constant player. I've seen Myles Gaskin rising in drafts. I don't know why. I don't even see why he's even being drafted, but Chase Edmonds is a nice pick there. Who's we got anybody on tap in the back?
Yeah, Mr. White and Scott are in the back. Who's next on the sheet?
We could try to get Mr. White in. Yeah, let's do it. He was in the 5 hole and passed the mic.
What's up, guys?
He hates
Welcome.
he hates the 5 spot, but let's see what you did with it, my man. How's it going?
I hate it. What's up, guys? See you. I hate it.
I hate it.
I totally strategized my draft around getting some injuries this year on this league, like Darrell Henderson, drafting Curtis Samuel and Dotson. So I'm hoping for a McLaurin injury.
Yep.
Godwin, I gotta hope for that he comes back. Scantling, it was like snipe after snipe. It was painful. I do want to,
but you're in for something like that when you take tight end and quarterback both early. You've got the edge on the other guys at those positions, but you need to be able to lock down that wide receiver 3. Where did we do it?
I know. You guys said this last time, but listen, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I hate chasing tight end and quarterbacks. I hate it. I like having a tight end. I like having a solid quarterback. I get it. I've won playing that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it.
You're swinging for the fences. You need one of those guys to pan out.
Well, I like having a quarterback somewhat early in the first 6 rounds, like a top 3 guy, because I don't have to worry about getting a second quarterback.
Okay.
And then so I can go for long shots and, swing for the fences later. Same thing with the tight end. There's nothing worse than chasing tight end on the wire.
Let me ask you a question. If you had Joe Burrow on your team, would you ever think about benching him?
Yeah, I had Burrow last year, and he screwed me because he has a lot of duds. Go look at his game by game. The end of the year was crushing. But there were multiple games where he put up duds. So yeah, I like to know that I can sleep at night on Saturday night.
Right.
I know who my quarterback is, and I don't have to chase that. That's the worst part about it is who am I going to start? But I do want to mention Treylon Burks because I didn't pick him.
Yeah.
But he has. So I have allergic asthma, and he has allergic asthma.
Okay.
And I heard the beat writer talk on XM radio the other day. So he has never had asthma treated, and he's in Nashville. Nashville is like a dome, and oh shit! And the Yankees, hold on. Tied it up in the bottom of the 9th. Okay, nice. He has never had asthma treated, so he has never had to deal with it. And now he's getting it treated, and he's getting a daily asthma thing. So I think I'm not going to say he's going to be the Chase of this year, but I think people are totally sleeping on him because Woods is playing and practicing in a red jersey right now. He's no contact. Yeah, Hooper's great. There's a good rapport going on from what I hear. But I'm going to let it fly with him. He's got the athleticism. He's young. They did the draft capital. I wish I had him. He got sniped. I got sniped everywhere in this draft.
It's brutal. That's brutal when you got it happening on both sides of you like that. But you seem to, like I said, in a lot of drafts, you figure out a way, right? Figure out a way. You hit the waiver wire if those guys aren't panning out. You got Claypool, who, look, there's no more Juju on that squad, and it's Deontay and Claypool. He has to develop chemistry with somebody, and I think both those guys are capable of getting that chemistry. And the same with Valdez-Scantling. You've got Mahomes, so maybe that's a combo that we'll see a lot more of, this year.
Well, I loaded up on wide receivers, and I just
Have
had
to.
my first auto pick of the year right there. But
Oh,
thankfully, like lesson to everybody, make sure you have guys in queue. I went with Terrence Marshall.
Okay.
So I'm not super happy. I like being either in the 1, 2, or the 11, 12 in a redraft because you can just like plan and you can, let the draft go get a drink, do what you have. I I don't know. What do you guys think? So where am I hurting? Where do I need to go next?
I had a couple questions about it. So,
Yeah.
Did you ever consider taking Lamar Jackson this draft? Did you know you wanted Patrick Mahomes? You took Andrews, you took Dobbins. You kind of have this, week 17 correlation with Claypool and Freiermuth, Pickens. So you have this week 17 mini game correlation.
Yeah.
Was he on your board at all, or did you just say, you know what? No, I just want Patrick Mahomes.
No, I was definitely had him queued up, and I think he's going to run the shit out of the ball. Sorry, apologies for the language. I think he's going to run the ball a lot, but I decided, Mahomes is, I think, being totally underrated this year. I think he's going to fling it. I think CEH isn't like a solid 20 carry running back. Ronald Jones is so questionable. And he doesn't catch passes. So I feel like Patrick Mahomes, just like Aaron Rodgers, is going to have something to prove. So I think he's going to fling it this year. And, in the 5th round or 6th round, I got in the 6th round in the first blue and red, which I was happy with. But yeah, I did, to answer your question, I did have Lamar Jackson. I was thinking about the whole Baltimore stack. Running the ball. They drafted all those tight ends. We talked about this last time. They're just going to run the shit out of the ball.
Yeah. There's somebody in the chat room, BSOL, Brightside. He said, red versus blue blast from the past. Shout out to Mikey Trent. That's our big blue co-host from Brandenburg, Kentucky, who started red versus blue with me some 15 years ago. And he is recovering from that. He has the C word right now. So he's getting through that. And I talked to him tonight, so he's in that phase where you just have no energy. He was going to be on, but he's look, it's going around again, But I think it's manageable, right? We've been down this road before. We've got it to butt kicked, so we're gonna all get through that. We're gonna wish Mikey the best.
Just drink through it. Hydrate, right. Advil, that's all it is.
Whatever you got to do.
Well, Clint, we have Scott in the back. I want to say thanks for coming on. Yeah. Always nice to chat with you. We appreciate you drafting in Red vs. Blue and making on the podcast.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Before Baker Mayfield, I may have even taken Terrace Marshall for the Panthers as the 3 because, again, he has that upside. But it's almost like, Baker smiled on media day when he was around all the reporters and taking all the questions. He was talking about familiar faces, and he was really happy about that, right? So it's like reunited with Rashard Higgins. If, Sean brought that up, that's the one receiver that he kind of made better. Rashard Higgins was kind of a name with Baker. So it's kind of nice to see him. And if something were to happen to DJ or Robbie Anderson, maybe they don't develop chemistry, you may see some chemistry from Rashard Higgins. Nice little sleeper for best ball and maybe late in the draft.
Well, Scott, welcome to the podcast. How you doing today? How did you like the draft?
Great to be on with you tonight.
So you're sitting in the 7th hole. Mad scientist. You started off with Derrick Henry, then with Saquon Barkley, Deontay Johnson, McLaurin, Judy, Gibson at the 6-6, Lockett, Harris, Lamar Jackson at 9-7. Love the value pick there. Myers, Gallup, Henry, Mack, Rogers, Higbee, Williams, Pringle, and DPJ. Walk us through your draft. What was the philosophy and the mindset behind it?
Well, I just kind of always draft best player available. Especially when you're at the 7th pick, I didn't know who'd be there. I don't love the Henry pick, right? Because it's a PPR league and he doesn't catch passes, but he's also the exception to the general PPR rule.
Exactly.
So I thought, all right, well, my season may go as Derrick Henry's season goes, but he's pretty good when he's getting the ball. So he can win a league for you too, even if it's PPR.
I went back and looked at some of your teams in the past, and it seems like, You tell me if I'm wrong. Especially, the back in the when you had the 12-1 team.
Yeah.
Some of those teams were dominant in the regular season and then just fell short in the championship round. You've got several second places. I know you got some wins, but is there a pizzazz piece on this team that you said, man, that's my swing for the fences guy?
Oh man, maybe. Let me look. Gallup, maybe. Okay. Right? I mean, you're picking a player in a middle round that's hurt. So I thought, well, gosh, if Gallup is healthy by the end of the season, then he might be a great player that really pushes a team like mine over the top. And then
you're on deck.
I wouldn't have to play somebody like Jacoby Myers. But,
right.
Lamar Jackson, I'm not normally a guy who picks Lamar Jackson. But
right.
He was there. It was the ninth round, and I thought, well, God, all right, let's take a home run swing and see what happens.
It's great value, and we'll let you be on the clock. But Billy, that is something that we talk about a lot. Is having something. We talked about it with the 12 hole. Having something on the squad that is one of those swings that you're not necessarily requiring a production from, but you have it there to be able to have that deep run late in the season.
Yeah, and I would argue that pick could be Lamar Jackson as well. He said he's not a huge Lamar Jackson drafter, but at the pick 9-7, he went here at pick 103. He got him 13 picks past ADP. I think that's a value in itself. The rushing upside that he has, alongside like if Henry stays healthy, if Barkley finally returns to form, if Gibson, he has a deadly team if people can stay healthy and if they fall into the roles that we're expecting them to have. So having Lamar Jackson there as well with the rushing upside, I like it as well a lot.
Well, and perhaps Barkley could be that guy too. We kind of write that off, but he's going to be involved in the passing game. He's Barkley, right? And people are getting him at RB10. It's a guy that has RB1 upside.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he's, at least before his injury, he's the most physically gifted player at that position, maybe at least in a generation. And so if he can even get 90% of that back, he'll get a 3-down work. And if he's healthy, he can really be a dynamic player. I was excited when he was there. If he was gone, I don't know what I would have done.
Would you have taken Evans if he were there, or were you happy to see Evans go that landed you Barkley?
It was basically my cue was Evans and Barkley. Whichever one of those didn't go before me, I was going to take. And even it was Evans, Barkley, and Mixon. So when I knew 3 picks out, I had those 3 guys left. I knew I was going to get one of them.
Nice.
So that felt pretty good. When the Kelsey pick was made, I'm not a first-round tight end drafter. Right. So when the Kelsey pick was made, I knew I'd probably be in pretty good shape at that at the 18 spot.
Yeah, you had 18 guys, 17 guys you liked. Deontay Johnson in the 3rd, great player there. Terry McLaurin in the 4th, another wide receiver 1 that feels like it's sort of just right at the end there of that wide receiver 1 tier. And then the 5th round, Jerry Judy. Here's where you had to make a decision and get your guy. There's lots of guys to choose from, and you went with Jerry Judy.
Yeah, I think the talent's just there. I mean, he is a super talented player, and he's finally got a quarterback. So
yeah,
I'm an AFC West fan. I'm a Chiefs guy, and I've seen how talented that kid is. And now that he's got Russell Wilson throwing the ball to him, I think he could be in for a big year.
Billy, it's almost like everybody sort of forgot that Jerry Judy, CeeDee Lamb was a toss-up in dynasty rookie drafts. And yeah, he had Teddy Bridgewater throwing him the ball. He had Drew Lock throwing him the ball. We can't blame all of that on the quarterbacks, but there's a good reason why he hasn't been the CeeDee Lamb type of upside. Lamb has always had Dak Prescott. But Jerry Judy was always right there with CeeDee Lamb in dynasty rookie discussion.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks at Judy, I think, right now. That's the main concern. I mean, yes, this offense is going to be
what are they?
So he just hasn't. Okay, it goes back to not showing. And I know I said earlier you don't want to wait to be seen, but there were some concerns in terms of like getting separation and he came out of college a good route runner, but I think that the NFL speed he's still being, acclimated to it. Again, a lot of it was also quarterback play. So I'm expecting a step forward for him, but we've all known that Russell Wilson favors the deep ball and loves to throw the deep ball. And that to me is not Jerry Judy on this team. It's Cortland Sutton. So don't get me wrong. I like Jerry Judy. I just have preferences in this offense over him. But I definitely have ownership on him, but I like, I'm favoring Cortland Sutton over Jerry Judy, but he's also going around ahead of him as well.
Yeah, he's going around ahead. And if Sutton is the deep ball guy, okay, in the offense, that's fine. Russell Wilson loves to do the rollouts. He's healthy again. He can do. He's ready to do those again. You got the underneath guys with like Tim Patrick, and the speedsters and Hamler when he gets back and rolling. Where is Jerry Judy's role in the offense then?
So I think we're going to see him kind of work through the middle of the field, which also brings up one of his other metrics he just wasn't really good at, just to put it simply, was contested catch rate. He only had a 6.7% rate. It was wide receiver 96 in contested catch rate, which is a little alarming, especially given the fact that, they're gonna be relying on him in this number two role. If he doesn't come down with those catches, who are they going to look to? They're not going to look to him in these situations where they're in the red zone or they need to make a 50-50 ball. They're going to look at Sutton. They're going to look at, Albert Okay. They're going to look at maybe Patrick. So there may be times where he's the third read in this offense. So there's a few other metrics like that kind of pop up that give me some concerns. Like I said, he is talented. He has the talent there to succeed. Maybe it has been all quarterback related, so we'll see this year. But like I said, I have some concerns.
That's it. The draft is over. Benny Snell picked 240. Mr. Insignificant there. Jerry Judy. Antonio Gibson is another swing. Let's talk about the Gibson pick. Was this when we were talking about Gibson, or was this after?
You guys had started talking about him, I think. Okay. And he was just best player available to me at that spot. I didn't think he'd be there when I drafted again, and I just thought this guy's too talented not to take in this spot. So when you started talking about him, I was like, no, don't say anything.
Everybody was paying a much higher price for Gibson last year, Billy. Yeah. I mean, what's really changed? You do have a plotter and a ground and pounder, Brian Robinson, that they bring in. But Gibson does a lot in that offense, and you're getting a good value for a guy that's going to be the early down guy.
So I want to correct myself. I misspoke. So he was actually great in separation. He was actually wide receiver 4 in separation. I was looking at the routes versus man. So just routes versus man alone, he only won 102 routes as wide receiver 104. So separation-wise, he's getting separation, great separation, but he's just not winning his routes overall. So I wanted to correct
was
myself.
That with Sutton on the field? I wonder if there's a dynamic, if there's a stat with that.
I can pull splits.
I think Russell Wilson helps a lot of that. I think he heals all of those ills, right? For the whole team, just for the whole team.
Well, the Broncos ought to see less man coverage with Russell Wilson as the quarterback because he's a better runner, right? So that already defenses are going to have to adjust to see that. But I agree. I think Judy's great knock, and at least at the pro game, is he's kind of got a slight build. So it's harder for him to get off press coverage, especially when he's running over the middle and he's not playing at Alabama where everybody has to pay attention to everybody on the field. Right. I think you're right. It's hard for him to get off some of that more physical coverage.
Yeah, and I think Russell Wilson will be good for him. Like I said, I like him. Don't get me wrong. I like him a lot. It's just, I say I prefer Sutton, but it's teach their own there, and we're splitting hairs at this point.
Billy, let's ask this too. Tyler Lockett, at this point in the draft, there's two different philosophies here. There is a swing for the fences, home run type pick that could be there for me, that could win me $50,000 in a league, or there's a guy that I know that I can plug in when it's time for bye weeks and injuries and flat out bad play by my other flex players or wide receiver 3 in Tyler Lockett. I know he can get me the 3 for 90, the potentials for a touch or 2, the type of production that you can get from a Tyler Lockett. So there's two different theories there. So I'll ask you first, Scott, what Tyler Lockett was serving that role for you as just a fill-in guy that you knew you could use in a lineup in a crunch?
Yeah, best available, good player, bad quarterback situation, unless Garoppolo gets traded there, somebody else gets traded there. Even if Garoppolo gets traded there, maybe it's not a good quarterback situation, but he's a good player. He's really in a lot of ways like Jerry Judy. But best player, I knew I could use him if I needed to.
So Billy, back to you then. If you're a drafter using best player available, are you ever going to draft a Garrett Wilson, a Sky Moore?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a Sky Moore fan, but I'll take Wilson. Yeah, I like Lockett where he took him. Like Lockett in that wide receiver 40 to 45 range to me is I love the cost there. Like because the chance for him to outproduce that cost is significant. Like he has finished as a top 20 receiver year in out. And yes, he lost his quarterback, but still the talent is still there.
Maybe we're overrating that. Yeah.
Yeah, we might be overrating it, right? We have to go back and look at the splits that he was on the field with Geno Smith. So I think a lot comes down to the quarterback and who's at play here. But nonetheless, I always like to look at drafts and say which player in this range has a chance to significantly outperform ADP, and Tyler Lockett always seems to be that player that I keep looking to at drafts. Now, again, I like him a little bit more in best ball than I do in redraft because you don't have to hit the start button every week. When he pops off, he just slides in. But again, he could easily outproduce somebody like Judy. He could easily outproduce somebody like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Hell, he could even outproduce Renfro or Bateman. So we could be talking about potential 3 to 4 round discount in ADP, versus the field if the talent continues to shine through.
And if the Seahawks call the Carolina Panthers and say, "Hey, Sammy D, is it, let's make this happen," that help Tyler Lockett?
No, Sam Darnold's trash.
Oh, stop. Stop it.
I don't know. At first I thought it might have been Adam Gase, and then I saw him play again. I was like, no, it wasn't Adam Gase. Sam Darnold's just bad. He was better at running the ball last year than he was throwing the ball. I don't have a lot of faith in Sam Darnold. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll, have a little heat under him. They're going to get some fire under his feet, and with Baker Mayfield there, maybe he steps up and does something. I don't have the faith in him like you do. I think that's just the Jets homer in you just shining through the screen right now. I don't like
Subway Sam becomes Seattle Sam. What else we got here, Scott? We got Lamar. We got Gallup, maybe. We got Hunter Henry as your tight end. You waited for tight end, and you get a guy like Hunter Henry who's you can plug in as your tight end one, no problem.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of undervalued this year.
I think so too. Mac liked him.
They signed Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith both last offseason to big deals. Everybody thought they were just going to split the work, and it turned out Hunter Henry was the TE1. I think that'll happen again this year. And I think Higbee actually could have a nice rebound season too, because I'm not sure what Allen Robinson's got left in the tank. So Higbee could be the number 2 target, at least for a part of the season in LA, which if you're the number 2 target in the Rams offense, that's a pretty good deal. You got Cooper Kupp number 1, and maybe Odell comes back later, but Higbee could be a weapon in that offense.
And you screwed somebody in the league, and you took Aaron Rodgers, the league MVP, keeping him from being on somebody's team. You're going to start him. Who knows when you're going to start him with Lamar? It's going to be tough.
Right. I'm probably going to start him when Lamar gets hurt. That's probably what I'll do.
You better start him against the Jets D in week 1, because Jets D are going to tee off on Lamar. And then a couple sleepers here. Williams in Atlanta, who could be the best back on Atlanta right now, and Pringle, which, Billy, we do have a new receiver to talk about. Did he get drafted tonight in Chicago? And N'Keal Harry? I mean,
no.
Did he get drafted?
No,
because he doesn't show up on ADP. See, everybody's sleeping on him. He could be the wide receiver 2 in that offense.
It's also just because he isn't really good.
Another guy that was the unanimous number 1 wide receiver in dynasty rookie drafts. This happens all the time. Josh Dotson. It happens. Wide receiver 1.
N'Keal Harry, though, it's a new start for him. I had some hopes for him coming out of college, but we'll see if a fresh start in a new team, it kind of rejuvenates his career. I don't have a lot of high expectations for him this year. I'm just going to, I'll probably take a couple dart throws on him late in some drafts, but I'm not going to do anything outside of that.
Yeah. All right, Scott. Thanks for coming on, man. It was a lot of fun having you on. Look, you're going to be right there in the hunt. You've got a team that can compete. You've got all the boxes checked. So,
well, thanks guys for having me. It'll be a great season. We got a lot of competitive teams here. This is a really, really sharp bunch of drafters.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
awesome, Scott. Thank you.
See you guys.
Take care.
By the way, Greg, the defending champ, Skull Crusher, the 9-hole. Let's talk about it. He went contrarian and said, "Screw you, wide receivers. I'm going to win." He won this league. He won 2 out of the 3 the red versus blue leagues last year, and he only has Brandon Cooks, 1 wide receiver through 8 rounds. Do you think that's intentional on Greg's part? Like he's trying to flip the bird and say, you know what, I'm going to buck the trend here. I beat you guys 2 out of 3 red versus blues last year, and I'm going to try to do it again.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of we're talking about Skull Crushers draft?
Yep, Skull Crushers.
What
does he have here? He's got the quarterback. He's got the tight end and the flex. He's got the RB1. He's got the RB2.
So the thing I don't like about it here is
RB3.
Okay, so you have your 2 running backs. You have now your other 2 running backs that are in the flex. So Waller is now not starting, or these running backs aren't starting. So your 6th, 7th, and 8th round pick, arguably, or 7th and 8th round pick, there's going to be 3 players here that aren't going to be starting on a weekly basis when you're still searching for your wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3.
Right.
I don't think it's optimal. I understand what he was probably trying to do. He's probably trying to create a run at the position to get value at the wide receiver position later, and maybe to try to do the same at the tight end position. I'm not a fan of that philosophy. I think he's way behind the 8 ball at wide receiver. I don't think he's going to be able to catch up. I'm going to say that I'm going to say it's going to be a really hard year for him.
The Devin Singletary pick, he could have taken. I mean, okay, there's not a lot there. Marquez Valdez Scantling, Robert Woods, Kadarius Toney, something there. Tyler Boyd, he can hold the fort down as a wide receiver. Well, he's got to be his wide receiver 2.
Waller's not needed there. You drafted Travis Kelce. If you draft Travis Kelce, you need to just punt the tight end 2. If not,
take Kirk or Cooper.
Or don't even take another tight end if you're drafting Kelce, right? Especially we're not in tight end premium here. You don't need Waller and Kelce. So, if it's me, this draft, I'm probably, I'm from Cooks all the way through Singletary as wide receiver. If I'm on this draft, I'm probably taking.
But let's say he wanted Dylan. That's fine. That's fine. You wanted him, and then you take Cooper or Kirk as your wide receiver 2.
Yeah, Cooper would have been. Yeah, Cooper's would have been there. Perfect. Then you on the way back on 7, you take somebody like Olave, right? Or you take, and then 8. So you take Robert Woods. Or Tony, and then you come back around. If you like Boyd, great, get Boyd, right? So that changes the entire draft, I think. Especially, it's going to push receivers up more as well. That changes the entire room if he does just a wide receiver run there. And I think I like his team more, quite frankly, if he does that.
Somebody says in the chat, this is an 11-team league officially. Oh,
ouch.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Yeah. This was a great time. PlayFFWC.com is the lobby. Definitely get in there. Sign up for your drafts. Player Profiler, get over there. Get your subscription. You get the ADP tools in the draft room if you're a member of full-time. And then to follow Billy, FF Muzio on Twitter. I'm at Scott Fantasy on Twitter. You're not going to find a lot of fantasy takes on my part, but Billy is the source of that, FF Muzio. And then Jody Smith, NFL, coming out with all kinds of stuff on the website, the projections, the strength of schedule. We'll have the downloadable projections on the site this week. And Preseason Pro, it's one of the best things that we do. We get the information out of the top high stakes players in the country. Some of the people who win the 6-figure checks every year, every other year, they give us their one sleeper, one breakout, one bust, one comeback player, and one stash and cash. And Billy, I'm looking forward to seeing yours this year. I know I might think I have a lean on a few of them, but it's still a ways to go for August before those are due. And so a lot can change between now and then.
Plenty of time for adjustments. We're going to get some camp news here shortly, so looking forward to being able to submit those. For the listeners still tuned in, Grind Time next week, I'm going to have a special edition on Tuesday with Drew Davenport. For those who don't follow Drew, he is a defense attorney, specializes in criminal defense. He has been spot on with his analytics, I should say, or I don't know what the correct word is, but of his breakdown, his case breakdowns of players over the years past. We're going to be talking to Deshaun Watson if we don't have news by then. We're going to be talking Alvin Kamara. We're going to be talking Dalvin Cook. There's a lot for us to discuss here in legal terms, the NFL, and how it's going to affect your fantasy teams in 2022 and even into 2023.
Yep. And I like the Witty Sports Guy team. I think they did a good job with Jefferson, Higgins, Robinson, Kirk, and Burks, Connor, and Jacobs. Stafford is your quarterback. Schultz and Ertz at tight end. He nailed the draft. We talked about the Chase team, Chase, Evans, Waddle, Zeke, and Penny. Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Goddard, and Fields as your quarterback. Okay, that's a risk, but he takes Winston in round 20, fixes that up. And, those are a couple of good teams. Then that Lamb-Sutton team, it's a little thin at that wide receiver 3 spot. And then, look, man, there's a couple teams here that went 0 RB. You did it at the FSGA draft. That was a phenomenal thing to watch, and it's an emotional roller coaster. If you have the stomach for that 0 RB structure, it is a fun upside draft build.
Man, I wish I could share the screenshots of our text messages. Scott's messaging me, and he's like, "Who are you gonna grab here? What running back you gonna grab?" I'm not grabbing a running back here. And then the next one is like, "Oh man, they got these running backs still here. I think you should grab this running back." And I was like, "No, we're gonna push this to the limit." I had Scott on the edge of his seat as I was going 0 running back.
Yeah. Hey, I'm looking forward to watching the team.
Me too.
I'm looking forward to it. So we're gonna flex on the wide receivers. So.
Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in to Red vs. Blue, featured on Grind Time, powered by Full Time Fantasy and the FFWC. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Go register now for Red vs. Blue 3. Once we get that filled, we'll start looking at spot guests there as well. So if you want to come on the show, recommend registering that. We'll reach out to you, get you scheduled to come on the show, and we'll start talking some football with you. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll see you all here shortly.
Peace.